In my previous video, I identified 10 things that changed in the new Black Bay. I found 6 more. Some of them are important, so you need to know about them. But what's more important that now all of these changes, they tell the story. So we will go through the 6 changes, and after that we will talk about where the Tudor is going with all of this. And is it good or bad? So keep watching. Number 1, case actually had significant changes that I didn't notice in my previous video, because if you look like that, you would say like nothing changed. If you look on the side of the case, there are significant changes. So we know Tudor as having this kind of like slab-like, very brutalistic looking case. That is no more. The new case is very similar, and it could be like exactly the same case as Rolex has. So over here we see side by side new Tudor BB36 and Rolex Explorer 36. You would say that's the same case, and maybe that's what it is. That's the change. The previous case, I know people didn't like it. I kind of didn't get why. Like when I look like this at my Tudor, it looks very nice, but actually in larger watches, those like dive Tudors, they actually thicker and they are larger. It kind of doesn't look that good. So I see how the new just generic Rolex case is an improvement over what was before. But again, in smaller cases like 36 millimeters and smaller, I think it looks nice. But again, this is yet another thing that new Black Bay is becoming lesser of the Black Bay and more kind of like a generic Rolex. In my previous video, I'm wondering why did water resistance go down? So the change in the case, it's probably the reason why. Number 2, the big change to the dials. So Tudor dials used to be this flat. Now this is gone. Now all Black Bay dials are this like sunburst dial, exactly like what we know from Rolex Datejust. And again, Rolex. Number 3, actually minute hand changed. So if you look very closely at the point where the minute hand attaches to the wheel, the old minute hand and the new minute hand are very different. And again, the new minute hand looks exactly like Rolex Explorer 1 minute hand. So again, we can see the story developing right here. Okay, number 4. So if you look very closely at an hour hand, then you might, and I'm pretty sure that the new Black Bay hour hand is just tiny bit smaller than the previous one. And yeah, that previous like big giant hour hand got a lot of criticisms, and it takes a lot of space on the dial, but that's what Black Bay was. Things like this giant hour hand, that like slab case, that was Black Bay for me. Maybe you didn't like it. Now it's slightly less Black Bayish, maybe. And number 5, if you didn't know, then now you can get your Black Bay with diamonds. It's actually a very nice execution of diamonds. I actually don't mind getting diamond dial like that. I actually like it, but that's not something what truly Black Bay is known for. Diamonds is more something what Datejust is known for, or these jewelry Rolexes are known for. And number 6, very small change. I don't know when this actually happened, but I need to point it out. So even in my previous video, I'm talking about BB32. They actually changed it. Now it's Black Bay 31. I don't know if they changed it this year or sometime in the previous year, but this is worth pointing out that the smallest Black Bay become 1 millimeter smaller. Now with all these changes, the story is starting to develop. Now we kind of see where Tudor is going with all of this. Let's take a look. No more snowflake second hand. Now we are getting just a Rolex second hand. The minute hand became exactly like Rolex minute hand. Now all dials are sunburst dials, exactly like Datejust dials. Now we have all this explosion of sizes, exactly like explosion of sizes in the Datejust case. Now from the Tudor slab case, it's becoming Rolex generic case. We do not have smiley face. Why? Because Rolex does not have smiley face. That Rolex has straight text. We do not have iconic Black Bay crown. We have generic Rolex crown, which is on all Rolexes. Even Jubilee bracelet. We don't have any more oyster bracelet. Why? Because they just comes with Jubilee bracelet. The last year we got two-tone black base. We also got diamonds this year. Why? Because that's what they just is. So we are starting to see that Black Bay is becoming less of the Black Bay, less as a Tudor, but more Rolex, more generic, cheaper Rolex, and specifically the Datejust version of the Rolex. Why is this bad? Like you would think that Tudor is becoming more like Rolex and everybody wants Rolex. This is great, right? Not quite. So if you look at the Tudor history, Tudor actually had this confused history. So sometimes they made things that were unique and very cool Tudor-like. Like for example, this snowflake dial on this Tudor. But at the same time, they used to make just the same watches like Rolex used to make. It was just a cheaper version of the Rolex. Now, if there is the exact same version of that watch, but with the Rolex dial. Look at this. It even has a Mercedes hand. And guess what? Now, that Tudor with the snowflake dial, that Tudor which is specifically Tudor and not a Rolex, now trades at the significant premium. Why is this premium? Because people like Tudor to be Tudor. Tudor designs are cool. People don't like to feel like, oh, I just bought a cheaper version of the Rolex from the Rolex because I couldn't afford the real Rolex. So I settled on this. Right? This is not cool. This is not what will give you a satisfaction. Okay, guys, so if you like this video, please hit, you know what to do. Just say, hit this, subscribe,